Morning, Joyce.
Good morning, Ann.
Can we talk about money and value?
Great subject.
Okay. So we did a course together or a lab together on money and value, and I've been thinking about it ever since because I think so many adopted people have issues with money and the sense of value. And um, I still struggle with it. So I was this morning, I had this realization that I don't think that I should pay rent. And this is a super embarrassing thing to talk about, but I have been couch surfing in some way or another for years. And it's not that I shouldn't pay rent because I should own, it's that I think that I should be taken care of. And that paying rent is actually a waste of money. And I pay rent now and I struggle with it because I don't feel proud that I pay rent. I feel a little, I don't even know what the word is. It's not ashamed, but a little bit like, you're not supposed to be doing this. This is, and I think it's that it's too grown uppy that
Huh.
I think that I should be this adopted kid who's being taken care of. And I don't like that. And I want to feel proud that I can pay my own rent and that I should pay my own rent. And I was curious if you had any thoughts about that. Oh,
So many thoughts. First of all, knowing you, when you put it that you're couch surfing, and yeah, I mean, maybe you did here and there, but you were house surfing. People gave you farms and houses that you could stay in while you were writing. They wanted it taken care of, and you took beautiful care of their property and you managed things. So you're selling yourself short by announcing that you just couch surf.
you're right.
Not
Thank
the
you for
real.
that. Yeah.
And so I think that's really important.
Mm.
And the other thing is, you had really good reasons. You stayed in one place because you wanted to be close to your dad. You knew that he was dying, and you spent time, and that worked out to be a place that you could stay. And I remember that when you moved into this little funny place in Santa Cruz, that you were thrilled to be in your own space, to not be sharing it with anyone, and to be able to decorate it and do whatever you want and to feel like you were there. So there was a way for a little while that you felt very happy about.
Oh, you're so right. I mean, it was like a college student getting their first place.
Yeah,
You're so right.
yeah,
And so this also ties in with value.
yeah. And I think that, so I don't want you to misrepresent yourself to
Great.
anyone
Thank you. I appreciate that. Thank you.
who jumps on and thinks, whatever they think. And who
Mm.
cares? But the point is that you have had a trajectory and you've been doing things that are very productive, and that there were rationales behind each of your choices, and that made sense. Now, you still have the issue. I mean, you're right to think that adoptees have concerns, issues, challenges around money and value. And it's no surprise. Most adoptees feel, it's not necessarily accurate, but they feel like they were bought and sold. And parents spend a lot of time, and I've had this in therapy for years, explaining to kids that, that if a family has two children by birth and then a child by adoption, and the child by adoption says, how much did I cost? And the parent is, understands that all of their children cost something. You have hospital bills, you have things you pay for when you have a child by birth, and you have, things that you pay for when you adopt a child. um, I have a huge problem with the business of adoption. But you don't put that on a child. You explain to them that they're, you know nobody bought or sold you, unless they did. And there are a lot of traffic situations. There are a lot of terrible situations. Most often, the parents don't even know about that. Um, um, but I'm telling you all of that, and we're talking about it because it impacts how the adoptee feels. No matter what the people closest to them tell them, there's a way that they get it, that there was a transaction around their coming into this family. They didn't just get born and get plunked in this family and they're genetically related for centuries. There was a transaction that took place. There were lawyers, there were agencies, there were judges. And so I think all of that doesn't get put into a bundle and understood, but it filters into the child, and there's a way that they understand there's something weird about me and money and value. And money is more about value than anything else. It's really what it means to you, and how you feel about yourself, how you value yourself in the midst of that. We used to do art therapy programs at my clinic, and one of there were 6 week groups for kids of different ages, and at the end of the 6 weeks we'd do an art opening, and the parents and friends would be invited, and we'd have little food, and it would be very cute. And the kids' art, sculpture, painting, whatever they did, would be beautifully curated, and they would write something about it, and their name and age and what they wrote would be up on the wall next to their piece of art. And I remember this one little girl, and we did a lot of different projects. And this was a shoebox project. We gessoed shoeboxes, and on the inside of the shoebox was how you feel inside, and on the outside was how the world sees you.
Mm.
So this little girl was adopted internationally. And on the outside, she put all of her favorite sports and things that she loved, and she decorated it, and it was all sparkly and adorable. On the inside, she put a map of her country of origin, and she pasted a penny onto it. And so you could ask the artist about their work. And I went up to her when we were getting everything ready, and I said to her, can you tell me something about what's on the inside? Is this the country that you were adopted from? And she said, yes. And I said, and tell me about the penny. And she said, well, brown-skinned children from my country cost less money than white-skinned children. And so this is how much I cost. And so you can imagine when her parents came in and asked the same kinds of questions as they were walking around, how that hit them. But you know what? It's true. Agencies used to have a different price for brown and black skinned children than they did for white skinned children, which is appalling and
Mm.
true. And so this little girl knew that, and her value inside was reflected in that way.
Mm.
So adoption does funny things, and it's not, her parents were lovely. There was no way they were giving her any of that message. They really were giving her every access to these groups and to anything that would give her connection and
Mm.
understanding. But the world was giving her this message. The world was giving her messages about race, messages about culture, messages about adoption, and ultimately messages about value and devalue.
Mm. Oh, that makes me cry.
Mhm.
There's something about that, um, just that little girl, a penny is so little. And just the act of pasting that and the imbalance of carrying, that's such a great idea, that box. I love that. But the imbalance that she walks around with the country and the penny inside and all the other things outside, there's so much stress when there isn't balance. Um, oof, that was a wow, that was a powerful story. That um I had an image in my head as you were talking of that. I, this might be a bit of a jump because the image just came to my head, but that as an adopted person, I picture that my family's living in a house and they're people, they're human bodies, and they bring me into their house and I'm like an egg. Like I don't have roots, I don't feel like I have the same kind of body that they have. So I'm an egg and I go in the refrigerator. And what I would really like to be is a tree that they plant outside, so that I can grow roots and be like I'm not quite a body like they are, but I'm my own creature and I could be outside growing roots. But instead I'm this egg, and an egg needs constant protection. And and so I feel like I've been living my whole life like an egg, so just go from place to place, don't root, find a way to say stay safe, but it's staying in this bubble of story, which is I'm different, I don't entirely belong, and I don't have the skills really even to take care of myself. And so how can I find yet another place to be an egg? And at 60 years old, I am in this place paying my own rent, and I do feel like I just came out of college and I'm starting life as a grown up, and I'm having those growing pains, of like I put myself on a budget for the first time in my whole life. I've never been on a budget because I thought that idea was horrible because it always felt like there wasn't enough anyways. So why would I create even less for myself? But what I'm finding with the budget is that I value then when I spend money, that it's very intentional, and it's not that I have less because now I have money in the bank. But money in the bank used to make no sense to me because I didn't really believe in a future. So why, really, truly, why would I want to have money in the bank when I needed to take care of myself now? Um, and
But Ann, there's, so many different adoptees and different kinds of adoptees and different situations. Um, since you're talking, I'm going to answer to you.
Mhm,
You spent your after college time, and I think all adoptees have a harder identity quest. Um,
mhm,
whether they have some information about their birth families, whether they do a search, they're still trying to figure out who they are in the midst of all of that. They belong and don't belong in their birth family, and they belong and don't belong in their adoptive family, and they're finding who they are. And
mhm,
so that's common. And not all adoptees see it or feel it, but it's going on. Um, and I think so that takes longer to grow up,
mhm,
because a lot of people who aren't adopted can go through that during their adolescence, which now lasts till 26 or something, according to psychologists. Um, and they figure things out and can be more adult after that point. I think it takes a little longer for adoptees. And I would say, because you're a creative and
mhm,
because you chose, I mean, you started out, you've taught in colleges, you've done the traditional kinds of work that went with your skills and that you wended your way into. And it didn't give you what you needed to express yourself. So you found a different way to do that, which isn't, you know, working in big pharma and making 200 million a year. So that would never have been your choice. So
mhm,
you did you, and you didn't make a huge amount of money, and you had many, many friends, and you ended up being able to house sit for farms and ranches and houses and live in New York apartments, and you lived a really good and creative life up to this point.
Mhm.
And then I think this is just my view because I know
Mhm.
you, 'cause you're my
Mhm.
friend. When your dad died, you were an orphan again.
Mhm.
And so that puts you both in a vulnerable place and in a I better grow up place. I'm the next generation. I've got a kid and I'm the parent. So I think it's not a surprise that you're at this point and that you're doing this. I think it's right on. And there's nothing, about it that's less than. I think you're doing all the right things. They're more complicated because of adoption.
Mhm. Yeah, and it's incredibly um I want to use the word empowering to have the safety net removed. I mean, all my life I knew that I could fail because my parents were there. And in some ways that invites failure. It was almost like an obligation just to continue to be in the child failure role. Um, Not that my parents loved to rescue me, but that somehow that was our relationship. And to have that removed made me feel like a different person. Um, yeah, and I'm wondering, in your practice, is there, how do you get, how do I ask this? I'm wondering, um, how to help adopted people feel agency in their lives before their parents die.
I think many do because I think many cut off and they're all so
Yeah,
many.
I know there's so many different
Uh,
situations.
but I think it's part of finding your true self,
Mm,
finding your North Star, finding you, and really figuring out that you came into the world alone. You need to take care of business alone. I mean, you can have other people join you and everything, but it's freeing and it's exciting in a way to take that on and to be comfortable um, being the one to take care of yourself. And this relates, I mean, we did 3 sessions on trust before we did this. This relates to trust. Do
mm,
you trust yourself to take care? You're talking about how you want to be taken care of. Do you trust yourself to take care of you? Uh,
mm. Oh, I love that. What if we stop here for today and then next week pick up on like your true self and money and value, because I think that's so beautiful. Because in the groups that I've been leading, because of the Martha Beck work I've been doing, I've been asking people what are their personal values. And what I'm finding is that almost across the board, it's very difficult for them to name them. And if you don't know what your own values are, it's very hard to move forward in an organized and purposeful manner. So,
And I don't think everyone can, it works in that way. I mean, I don't think that has to be answered verbally.
mm,
Um,
mm.
it can be a feeling, it can be, I don't know, some kind of expression. It can be art. It can be, I mean, there's ways that people can answer that or can find that. When you ask that question, it's like kids. When you ask kids questions,
Yeah,
they
people feel trapped by the question.
yeah,
Yeah,
I
yeah.
think it's limiting. And it's really important to just give a wider space and let people figure out what to do within that space.
Oh, I love that. So next week, can we talk about a wider, oh, I love that, a wider place for value, for values. Okay. Oh, wow. Gosh, I love talking to you. Um,
I love talking to you. And there you are, way over on the other coast.
I know, is that crazy? I want to meet you in the Charles Hotel and have
I
good,
know. Let's
yeah.
go to Henrietta's and have our breakfast.
Yeah, I'll come soon.
Okay.
Okay, have a wonderful day over there.
Talk to you later.
Okay, bye.
Bye.